All right. Well, good morning, everybody. It's nice to see everybody here for the Training Wheels Off support group for Parkinson's. We're very blessed to have a nice guest speaker here today with us, Freya Robbins. I'll just read you her profile from her CV. A compassionate and resilient professional with a counselor's heart. I have turned personal adversity into a source of strength, helping families navigate difficult transitions. As the Florida Supreme Court certified family mediator, that's a mouthful, certified divorce financial analyst, and a business owner, I have guided over 1,000 couples through amicable resolutions, saving them time, stress, and financial strain. That's what she's going to talk about today. She's going to talk about how we can strengthen our relationships with our caregivers, with their person with Parkinson's, because it does raise relationship challenges. All of us know that. So I think you'll really enjoy listening to Freya talk to us on the topic. And then when she's done, we'll open it up for Q&A if you have any questions that you'd like to ask Freya while she's with us this morning. So with that all being said, I will turn it over to Freya. I'll on spotlight myself, and we'll look forward to having you join us today, Freya. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Roger and Sue, for having me here today. I always look forward to speaking to your group, and I've spoken to you in the past. So by a show of hands, how many of you have ever sat in on the presentation that I did in the past? I'm looking to see Sue, Roger. I don't see many other hands, so that's good. Hopefully this will be new news for you. I think it's important that when someone is speaking to a group like this, that they have some sense of where you've been. And I can say, I don't have Parkinson's. I don't have anybody close to me today that has Parkinson's, but my grandfather had Parkinson's. And I have several clients who have Parkinson's. And as a matter of fact, when we end this, when we do a Q&A, I'm going to ask you for your help because I have someone who I just recently found out has Parkinson's, and I don't know that they're ready to enter into a support group or anything like that. And I want to know from you how I might best help this person and maybe encourage them to come to this support group so you can be helpful to them. Roger, can people put things in the chat? Is that possible for people to put things in the chat?
Yep, there's a chat windows open for anybody who wants to put something in there.
Okay, so if anybody has any ideas, you can put it in the chat for me, and we can also talk about it later. And then I have a handout at the end that I'm going to put in the chat for you all. Okay. So our title for today is Stronger Together, Navigating Relationships with Parkinson's. So, and I would like this to be interactive, but I also realize that maybe, is that going to work out, Roger, with the recording and such?
Yeah, what they'll have to do is they'll have to either unmute themselves, or if they raise their hand virtually, I can see them and then I can unmute them.
Okay. All right. Because I love for you to have interaction with me. This isn't really about me talking and you listening, because that's really pretty boring. Trust me. But first of all, just that you're here, you know, the courage to be here, the courage to show up, the courage to be in a room, turn on your microphone, turn on your video so other people can see you, and to share and be vulnerable about the fact of what you're going through means a lot. You know, being here today means you care deeply about your relationships and your own well-being and that of other people. So give yourselves all a pat on the back for just even being here today. I want to see more pats. There we go. Thank you, Drew. I see Connie. I see John. Very good. Charlie and Thayer. Wonderful. It's great to have all of you here. And it's nice to know that we have people from all over the country and even all over the world that are able to share in a way like this. And just to give you a little background on me, I've been through a lot in my life, but this isn't about me, but just so that you understand, I have a son that has epilepsy. And when he was diagnosed with epilepsy, that was a really tough time in my life to accept the fact that I had a son that would probably never live what I thought of as a normal life. And that was very difficult for me to accept. He's 30 today, he'll be 31 this year. And I still struggle with it. And until I found a support group where I could share what I was going through and my concerns about his emotional well being, his physical well being, his financial well being, and long term, how is he going to be in life after I passed away? And those are all things we think about when we have a loved one that's going through this, right? So this is about stronger together. And I see many of you are here with a partner, but some of you aren't here with a partner, right? By a show of hands, how many of you have a partner or caregiver, someone that's in your world that's with you on a regular basis? Give me an idea. So a lot. Okay. Now, by a show of hands, those who don't have anybody at all that's a caregiver, raise your hand. So I don't see a lot. Maybe Linda, are you? I see yours. Okay. So, and also down at the bottom, it says iPhone, but I don't know your name. I'm sorry, but I do see you and I see your hands raised and I see you have a beautiful plant outside. So even though we might not have a caregiver, we still have people in our lives, people that we are in relationship with. Maybe it's a family member that lives a distance away. Maybe it's a caregiver that comes in occasionally, but isn't, there all the time. We're going to keep this real and we're going to keep this hopeful. I appreciate the fact that, you're here. What I want to know is, well, from Roger, I'm going to ask you, Roger, why did you ask me to do the presentation today, other than the fact that you knew I'd do it for free? But like, why did you think I could be someone that could speak to this community?
Basically, because we were you gave your presentation at Parkinson's Place years ago. I think that was before the pandemic, and what you said really, really resonated with me and Sue. The pandemic didn't do good things for our marriage, unfortunately. Being 24/7 crammed together on lockdown was very tough, and it caused some strain and stresses that we weren't accustomed to and didn't really know how to deal with, and so we found your information and your advice on relationships to be extremely, extremely beneficial and helpful. And your personal interest in us too was meant so much to both of us.
Oh, good. Thank you. And I think it was actually during COVID because it was one of the first meetings that we did on Zoom.
Oh,
And
okay.
as much as I have resisted, I love to meet with people face to face. And the reality is we can't all be together face to face. And many of you, again, are scattered across the country and across the world. So it's great that we can at least connect this way. And every relationship changes over time, right? Every relationship. We don't need a disease or a disability. Each relationship has its own time patterns. I call it a chapter. This is not your whole life. This is a chapter in the book of life. And our relationship goes through all kinds of changes. So in a love relationship, we have the dating, the romance, we have the marriage, then the honeymoon, and then, oh man, reality sets in, right? And you're like, that's who I married. And for any relationship that has been together, for such a long time, So again, I'd like a show of hands. How many of you have been in a marriage for more than 20 years? Raise your hand. Look at that. Look at that. That's absolutely amazing. That's incredible. How many of you been in a marriage for more than 30 years? Look at that. And how many of you been in a marriage for more than 40 years? Shall I say 50? I see more hands. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's incredible. That is incredible. And I give you all credit for that. And that shows probably that you've had some challenges, but there's also strength, isn't there, in the difficult times? Because, character isn't made during the easy times of life, is it? It's made when life is tough. That's when we show our true self, right? It's easy to be delightful when life's good and money's flowing and health is wonderful. Everybody's in a good mood, right? But when times get tough, we really show and reveal our true self. Change is not a threat. It's an invitation to evolve. And we're always going to have change. And so when we meet with that change, instead of thinking, oh my, I can't believe this is happening again, it's like, it's an invitation. I always taught my kids when they were growing up that when stuff happened, it wasn't a catastrophe, it was an adventure. So when we would go someplace and something would happen that we did not plan, like, I don't know, a flat tire, or food was bad at a restaurant, or, the place you were going to see was closed down, you didn't say, oh my gosh, the sky's falling, it's the end of the day. You said, oh, what an adventure. It means something new is on the horizon, right? I was diagnosed with bone cancer at the age of 25. And that rocked my world, let me tell you. I didn't know if I could ever have kids again. I didn't know if I'd ever find anyone who would want to be in a relationship with me because of the surgery that I had to go through and the deformity that I was going to be left with. But it caused me to rethink. It caused me to stop and rethink about what I wanted the rest of my life to be like. And it really also taught me to look back at my own family, the beginnings of my own family, and the very dysfunctional family that I came from. And I made a decision that day that I would cut that chain, that I would be the difference maker in my life and for my children in their life, that I wasn't going to continue the path where I came from. And that was a really big decision for me. But I'm glad I made it. I'm glad I made it. So is there any way, by a show of hands, show me one way that something in your relationship changed, but it actually turned out to be a good thing? Can you think of anything where there was a change, there was a shift, and in the end you look back and thought, that wasn't such a bad thing after all?
If you raise your hand, I can unmute you.
I see one
Whose hand's that?
down in the corner. It's in my
Oh,
screen.
Stanley. Is that Stanley? Hi, Stanley. Was that you wanted to comment?
I've got to think about it just a moment longer.
Okay. Come
Wonderful.
back to you.
Anybody else?
Let's make sure I don't miss anybody.
Well, I can share. I can share while Stanley's thinking about it. I'll share something for me. I went through a divorce when my kids were 8 and 11. And it was a very difficult time in my life. I relocated. I moved from Kansas to Florida. That was 21 years ago. And that was, it was a very difficult time. It was a very difficult decision for me, but it turned out to be a very good thing because I moved to Florida. That actually created my career of being a family mediator, which led me into financial planning, which led me into real estate. And I've been able to raise my children here. I did remarry, and I have a wonderful husband today. In May, it will be 10 years since we've been married. And again, I could look back. Yeah, I know I could look back and say that was a horrible time in my life. It was. But sometimes those tough things lead to other things that are positive. And sometimes the tough thing that leads to something other is just a new relationship. It's like all of you here, none of you would know each other probably unless you were, if you weren't involved in the Parkinson's community, right? And I think about the people that I have met through having cancer, uh, going through divorce, having a son with epilepsy. I have been the beneficiary of meeting such wonderful people and people who care about one another. So regardless of whether you have someone sitting right next to you who's there helping you and holding your hand, you have this huge community of people that you can reach out to and that you can share with all the time about what you're going through. And I hope that through these kinds of things that you have learned to be vulnerable and to share, because once you are willing to be vulnerable, once you're willing to share what it is that you've gone through, it relaxes other people and it causes them to be vulnerable too. It causes them to say, well, she can talk about or that or about this. I guess it's not such a shameful thing or not such a difficult thing for me to be vulnerable too. And I'm willing to be vulnerable. And when we're willing to be vulnerable, we can receive, right? But if we have this attitude of no, not me, no, not me, we can't. It's like if you have money in your hand and you hold it tight, right? You can't give to anybody and you can't receive. But if you have money in your hand and you open your hand up, you can give and you can receive. So it's kind of the same thing with our heart and our emotions. Once we're willing to let go of that fear and open that up, we can. So communication keeps connections alive, right? When we communicate with other people, and there's a variety of ways that we can communicate. If we can't speak, we can communicate with our eyes, can't we? Have you ever been able to communicate with someone and you didn't even speak? Maybe it was someone in the grocery store. They lit up their eyes, or maybe they had sad eyes. Maybe it was a child who was hurt or crying and you could see the pain or you could see the fear. It isn't always, sometimes it's a hand gesture. There was a lady the other day, I was leaving the grocery store and she was lost as to where her car might be. And she said, I'm not sure which one is my car. And I said, well, let me help you. And she said, no, you don't need to do that. And I said, yes, I do. I absolutely do. And I helped her find her car. And, she really appreciated it. But sometimes we think because we're going through things that we can't help other people. And yet we can. We all have so much to give and so much to offer. And sometimes we don't think about that. Sometimes we think about what we're going through is so difficult that there's nothing left of us. And yet there is. There's always something left to give. There's always something to offer. It might be a note. It might be a note via computer. It might be a note via a real piece of paper that someone gets in the mail and they're absolutely delighted. Aren't you delighted when you get something real in the mail today? Because infrequently people, don't mail things. I get cards from past clients and things like that. And it makes my day that someone thought enough of me to write a little note and put it in the mail and send it to me. So there's all kinds of ways that we can connect with people. We can say things to people and tell them how we feel. We can say things like, I feel scared when I don't understand what's going on. Can we talk? I feel scared. I don't know what's going on. Can we talk? I have a bunch of people that I'm sure I could call at any point in time and say, I'm worried about this or that. Can we talk? And they probably say, absolutely. I know if someone called me and asked me that, I would say, I'm there for you. You just tell me when. Or it might be something like this. I know you want to help, but I need a little space right now. I bet some of you couples can relate to that, right? Because your spouse or your caregiver sees that you are in need, sees that you are struggling, and they care so deeply that they just want to help and fix it for you. And sometimes we have to struggle a little bit. And sometimes we have to feel some sense of independence, right? And is the worst thing about this that you feel like you've lost your independence? Probably one of them, right? Probably one of them. Listening is just as important as speaking. So sometimes it's about creating an environment whereby you're not the one talking, but you are there for your friend or your partner to just listen and let them know, I'm just here to listen. I'm not here to talk, not here to give any advice. I'm just here to be, just to be, to sometimes, and I'm sure a lot of couples who've spent a lot of time together probably spend time side by side, but maybe not in verbal communication. You're just being, you're living your life side by side. You're living your life with someone who loves you and cares about you and is there for you. And sometimes it's just nice to know that they're right there if you need them, but you don't have to hover. I'm a helicopter mom, I know. I guess that makes me a helicopter wife too. When my husband has to go to the doctor, I say, well, I'm going with you. And he said, well, okay. He says, how come I don't go with you when you go to the doctor? And I said, yeah, because I don't need you. He's like, that's not fair. But so typical. So typical. Sometimes we speak different languages, and yet we still expect each other to read our minds. How many of us who've been married forever still expect our spouse to read our minds? Right? Yeah. Yeah. I'm with you. I'm with you. I expect that my husband knows exactly what I'm thinking. And sometimes we don't even have to say it. It's by our little attitude, right? It's how we respond, maybe the tone of our voice, maybe how we put things down or close a door. Do we close it quietly or do we give it a little, we give it a little shove? I don't know. It's a variety of things. But that's what makes relationships fun too, I think, is realizing that the little quirks that you have. Communication is like dancing. You won't always be in sync, but if you keep showing up, the rhythm will eventually come. So think about that. Communication is like dancing. You're not always going to be in sync, but if you keep showing up, the rhythm will come, right? So I'm going to ask you a question, and if you are willing to be vulnerable, maybe someone will share. I'm hoping that you will. What's one thing you wish your partner or family member understood better? And if you don't want to say it out loud, you can type it in the chat. What's one thing you wish your partner or family member understood better?
If you raise your hand, I can unmute you.
Yeah. So if someone wants to share, raise your hand. Roger will unmute you. I love it when you guys share with me. It helps me to know what you're thinking. And it helps other people. Sue said she would raise her hand.
Go ahead, Sue.
Okay, could you rephrase the question or say the question again so I could phrase it right?
Sure. What's one thing you wish your partner or family understood better?
That because I know with Parkinson's, there's issues with attention span. But when you ask a question and you receive an answer, you expect that the person is really paying attention because they've given you an answer. But it's frustrating as a care partner to realize that the person just replied without even really thinking about what they heard. They didn't hear it because their mind was somewhere else, which is, I know, difficult for people with. So I wish that he would understand that I need more engagement for him, so that I said to him, one day something important's going to happen and you're not, I'm going to think you heard me and you're not. So I need to know that, I understand it happens to everybody because we're all imperfect, but I need to know that there needs to be communication that I know is working. It's communication and not just me talking and it going in one ear, not the other or something. I don't know.
So, so that's interesting. So it could be that people are that way. We get busy all the time. My husband and I can have a conversation and I'm reading something and he's talking to me and I think he thinks I'm paying attention to him. And I'm not, because I'm looking at something on my phone and I realize what a waste of time. He's really thinking he's sharing something with me and I have no idea what he's talking about. And I probably do a little, So is it that, Sue, or this is really part of the medical condition, right? Whereby this attention span affects your communication back and forth.
It's probably a little of both, I realize. Because I try, when I know he needs to hear me, I'll say, can you look at me? So, that might help. But even then, so I know, I don't know.
Yeah.
There's no perfect world, of course.
No, but that's a good way to communicate your needs. And it's because you care, right? Exactly. You said there might be some day when something really important is going to need to be said or heard. And if you don't know if Roger heard it, it could cause a problem, right? So
Yes.
you two can work on things like, yes, I heard you, honey. And then it might be, what did I say? Because that happens to me. If my husband isn't paying attention to me, I just stop. I wait till he stops doing whatever he's doing and he looks at me and he'll be like, and I'll say, and I do this with my son too, and he has cognitive issues. I'll say, what did I just say? And not in a mean way, but I want to make sure, did you actually hear what I said? And then, believe it or not, they repeat it. And so they heard it. Did they really digest it? I don't know. There's a different thing, I think, between hearing and listening. Hearing means it went in, but did you really listen and digest it? Were you able to process it? Because I don't think we can process two things at once. If I'm looking at my phone and looking at messages on my phone and my husband says something to me, I can't process what he's saying to me because I'm focused on something else. Or I hear what he's doing and I can't focus on the message, one or the other. But we don't really multitask. We talk about it like we can, but I don't think we can really multitask. All right, well, good. Thank you for sharing. And it's nice that you were vulnerable in this group when your husband is just outside. I like that. Intimacy. Let's talk about intimacy and connection beyond the physical, okay? Intimacy is more than physical. It's emotional presence, touch, shared memories, and laughter. So intimacy could be talking about something we did 20 years ago or yesterday. It's that sharing of something special, a special moment or a special time. And don't you feel closer emotionally during difficult seasons, especially when you're sharing intimate things that have happened in the past, things that bring us together? And it's weird how difficult times actually bring us together. You think about families that have been strewn apart, have no connection with one another, angry with one another. And something major happens, a health crisis or a death in the family. And what happens? Everybody shows up, or at least I hope they do. I hope they do. I heard from people I never heard from before when my mother passed. When my daughter was diagnosed with, she had bilateral pulmonary emboli and cardiac arrest 2.5 years ago. And if the EMT hadn't gotten to our house that morning within those 4 minutes, she would be dead today. And it was a harrowing experience. But I heard from people in my family that I've never heard from before. A brother who I've been disconnected from, who said, we need to be a family. We need to connect. We need to do this for the sake of our children. And I thought, wow, isn't that amazing that something so tragic caused us to come together? And that's what you're living, is you're living the opportunity to reconnect with people because of something that has happened. Let's talk about some creative ways to stay connected. Think about if anybody has anything they can think of that they do to stay connected. Share with me. If you want to raise your hand, you can. If you want to put it in the chat, I'll share some ideas. But there's a lot of things that we can do to stay connected. Again, we talked about, a phone call, a card. That's for people who don't live close to us. But people who live with us, we can share a playlist with one another. We can have kind of a bedtime ritual that we do, a walk, a trip to a botanical garden, maybe a little dance in the kitchen, there's all kinds of, there you go. I like that, John. I see you moving it. There you go. Yeah. Like, sometimes we just got to get out of our comfort zone a little bit, right? And it feels awkward. It always feels awkward. It's funny. I was talking with my daughter the other day. She wants to have a roller skating party for her 34th birthday. And I was like, are you kidding? I said, I think I'll go and watch. And it took me back to the time when the first time I ever roller skated, it was with a Girl Scouts group in Massachusetts. And I had never roller skated in my life. And everybody was already at the roller skating rink. And I had to put skates on, get out to the middle. And I couldn't skate. I crawled out there. And there have been a lot of times in my life where I have had to do very, very humbling things. But it just teaches you to get out of your comfort zone. I mean, what's the worst thing that could happen? That maybe some people laughed at me, but I learned to laugh at myself, and that was okay. So think about some fun things that you can do, whether you're alone or whether you've got someone with you, or whether you can, include someone. Maybe there's someone out there you need to reach out to who needs a friend. And it might be someone with Parkinson's, but it might not. It might be just your neighbor you haven't even spoken to, right? Think about what makes you feel most connected to the people that you love. And then practice that. What is it? Is it just, some people just need to sit close and hold a hand. Some people, they just want to sit and, listen to music together or watch a program. Some people, it's, taking a walk. Some people, it's conversation. They need to talk. And think about what that is. And think about what's one small thing that helps you feel close, especially on a hard day. Because on hard days, we need to think about what that is that can bring us close to someone else. And we're not meant to do this alone. We weren't brought in this world to be alone. We weren't brought here to do this alone. This is why this is what we call it, a support group, right? When we know that someone else is there, it brings us hope. When I was diagnosed with bone cancer, and my doctor said to me, Freya, I have a lady who's been through something similar to you, not the same kind of cancer, not the same kind of outcome, but she had to wear some kind of special brace on her leg that I was maybe going to have to wear. And this woman came to my hospital room and she sat down next to me and she drew a picture of the brace I was going to wear. She was a great artist because she worked for Hallmark Cards. I lived in Kansas City at the time, and she was this beautiful artist, and she drew a picture of this metal brace with leather lacers, and I had to wear a special shoe with it. I was 25. It didn't feel very pretty at 25 having a deformed leg, but you know what? I could have had it amputated. So I had to look at the bright side. I still had a leg. It still doesn't look pretty, but you know what? It works. I get around. But we're not meant to do this alone. So think of the network of support that we have. We have a medical team, right? We have friends, we have family, we have neighbors, we have support groups, we have therapists or counselors. I heard Roger talk about his, what did you call it, a movement specialist?
It's a movement disorder specialist. Basically it's a neurologist that is trained mainly in movement disorders like Parkinson's, ALS, MS, Huntington's, those kinds of diseases.
That's wonderful. There's a lot of different resources out there, and sometimes it takes us to reach out to find what those resources are and who they are and where they are. But I guarantee you they're there. I do. I have found that too. And until I found support for the epilepsy support, I was in dire need. And today I give support to other people because I've been through it, and it feels good to be able to do that. And our caregivers. Our caregivers need support too, don't they? This is a hard thing when we're the caregiver. It's draining. And we have to find some way to get space and get relief and get recovery. And our partner needs time too without us. And there's ways to find someone that can sit in if we need to get away. So who are 3 people? I want you to think about 3 people you can reach out to this week just to either check in or share a moment with. Someone that you can think of that maybe needs a happy thought in their mind, someone that you haven't talked to in a long time, someone that you realize has had a huge impact in your life, someone that you know is in need, someone who's struggling, maybe with Parkinson's, but maybe not. I have an aunt who is either passing right now or has just passed within the last 24 hours. And I have had the blessing of reaching out to one of my cousins who's in a faraway state and the United States, and just touching base with her and sharing with her what it was like for me when my mother passed and hospice was involved. Just to be able to share with her of loss. I reflect on when my mom passed, and I don't know if anybody else has ever felt like this, but I relate it to, it felt like, women will understand this, men maybe not, but I said it felt like giving birth and letting go at the same time. It was the strangest, most wonderful experience. But think about who the people are that you can reach out to this week. I'd like to encourage all of you to reach out to at least 3 people and encourage them in some way. And you will find that you will feel encouraged, because when you do that, it makes you feel good. Love is not measured by ease, but by endurance, by creativity and connection. Even in the most difficult circumstances, relationships can strengthen, deepen, and evolve. They can. They can. You have the ability to choose how you show up, how you love, and how you grow. The human heart is resilient. Even in the face of change, it knows how to love. It remembers joy, and it rebuilds connection. What's one thing you want to try differently in your relationship this week? So I want you to think about it and write down one thing that you might try differently in a relationship, either a love relationship or a caregiver relationship, that you want to try differently this week to see if it'll make a change. I want to thank you for your vulnerability. I want to thank you for showing up today, for just being here, for taking the time to be here. As I entered in the Zoom room, I think it was Connie who was sharing how, you know, Tuesdays can be tough. There's other things going on. You have appointments, you have schedules, you have things to do. And sometimes coming to a support group like this can seem like a chore. You know, oh, it's just one more thing to do, right? I know personally that every time I show up and I attend a support group, whether it's one for people of divorce, someone who has had cancer, someone who's had epilepsy, or a child who was abused, I receive even when I go to give, if you know what I mean. I'll leave this time today feeling rejuvenated because you let me share with you. And so I thank you for your attention. I thank you for your presence. I thank you for your commitment to this group, for your commitment to yourself, and for those of you who are caregivers, your commitment to your loved ones. So I want to open it up for questions, and I could, let's just leave it open, and then any questions you have, feel free to ask me, knowing that I might not answer, but I probably will. And if you don't ask questions, I have a few prompting ideas that can maybe have us be in some conversation.
Okay, so if you either raise your hands virtually or raise your hands on the camera, I can unmute you and call on you if you have a question you'd like to ask Freya while we're here all together. I'm looking around.
Who wants to be vulnerable
Who wants to
today?
be the brave one? Okay, John.
Oh,
Go
John,
ahead, John. I unmuted
I
you.
just wanted to say from the aspect of the sharing, I use that all through my life. I was a police officer for 30 some years, and I found that that's a way to open up to people and to find out more and to, it's not the proper analogy, but to get your head. Because if you share a little something, they share a little something, then you learn more. I don't know if I'm getting through.
Yeah, you
yes.
broke up a little bit, but I think we got it. I think we got it, John. Thanks.
Yeah, that's
You know,
wonderful. Thank
I
you.
just want to say that part about sharing and sharing comes, there's just too many people out there that don't do that. They don't become involved with each other. You know, they think maybe you're a busybody because you're doing that. You're not doing that way. You're doing it if you use it the right way to help them, you know.
Yeah,
Mhm. Good point, John. Especially in today's polarized climate where people are not willing to budge and listen or even listen to the other side's
right. But
view.
even a smile at the grocery store, you know, smile at people, wave, you know, wave when someone lets you through. I wave at them and say, "Hey, thanks," you know, go out of your way to recognize people. We all want to be seen. I think, is it Edie Anderson? She had her hand up.
Go ahead, Edie. I muted you.
Thanks. Excuse me. I just wanted to comment on your presentation. When you started off with the word courage, for some reason, my mind said, all right, let's listen for all the words you use that begin with the C. And you talked about courage, chapters, challenges, communication, connections, commitment, comfort zones, creativity, and you ended with count your blessings. So I don't give your talk a C, I give it an A.
Oh, thank you, dear. And I didn't plan that at all, but you know what? It's so funny that you said that. I love to do talks, and I'll say like courage, and then C means this, and O and U and R. So I love to do the letter thing, but that was not intentional at all. Not at all. So thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
So anybody else want to share? If not, I've got a couple things I would like to share with you.
I just want a quick question for you, Edie, Freya, sorry. I'm a voracious reader. I read a lot of stuff. So I recently read, I don't know if you've ever heard of a author by the name of Mel Robbins.
Yes.
So I read her book, Let Them,
Yes.
after listening to most of the 5-second rule. And the Let Them book I thought was very enlightening to basically not be burdened by what other people think too much that ruins your life. But it did talk about she did talk about in a relationship with somebody, the person has to, if there's something that they're doing that is really you find troublesome,
Mm-hmm.
and you've kind of hinted that it's something that you would like them to change. But as she said, in the end, it has to be intrinsic. You either have to say, let them, that is, you're going to live with it,
Mm-hmm.
or you're not going to live with it and you move on. But I was just curious what your thoughts were. I don't know if you've read the book or not, but
I haven't read it, but I know Mel Robbins, and I've listened to a lot of her podcasts and some of her other things. And it's interesting because I can talk to you offline about it too, Roger, but something about that whole let them thing and where it came from originally. There's actually someone else that came up with that a long time ago, and she kind of used that. But anyway, I do like the concept, and I do agree that that let bygones be bygones. We can't change people. I can't make anyone happy. I can't make anyone mad. And I would love it when my son or someone say, you make me mad. I go, really? You mean I have that much power? I didn't know I could do that, because I don't. I can't make you happy, sad. I can't make you anything, because that comes from within.
mm-hmm.
And I think personally, I think that has a lot to do with our faith. And I'm a woman of faith. But sometimes we have to let people be whatever, because otherwise all we're trying to do is change them. And you don't change people. People are who they are. And especially when you look at, as time goes on, you think about your own relationship, Roger, with you and Sue. I mean, you think you're going to change Sue today? No. Sue, you think you're going to change Roger? He is who he is. He behaves the way I'm never going to change my husband. And I might be frustrated with something. He's a good, quick picker-upper, but he's not a detail guy. So like at the end of the day, after we've had a meal, he'll say, oh, let me clean up. And I love it that he wants to clean up, but he never does it the way I want. But I let him do it anyway, because I appreciate that. He does the heavy lifting. He gets the dishes in the sink and he rinses them off and he gets them in the dishwasher. And then I go around later after he's sitting down and I wipe up the counters and I clean everything up. And his sticky fingers all got on the stove and the microwave and the refrigerator. And I'm thinking to myself, how come he doesn't put clean hands on when he does it? He just uses his grubby hands. But you know what? I'm not going to change him. And jokingly, I've said things like, yeah, I always clean up after you. But that's kind of the role we play. And that's okay, because I appreciate who he is, But a lot of things like that, where there's just, there's so much about people that we could critique. Maybe we should have a gratitude list. And I see Gabriel wants to talk, so I'm gonna be quiet. But we should have a gratitude list and write down what we're thankful for about the other person instead of what we critique about them.
Good point.
Let's let Gabriel talk.
I unmuted you. Go ahead, Gabe.
For me, it's not changing people. You have to change to be adapted to the people. Like she said, you won't change anybody. You have to change to adapt to the form to the table. You have
Yeah.
to move to according to what you want to do that people do for you.
Right.
Yeah, you're right, Gabe. People have to want to change themselves. I was going to relate just real briefly. So one of the things that I do is our organization, I'm one of Jehovah's Witnesses. Our organization has a program in place to reach out to inmates. We don't call them inmates, we call them residents in the prison system.
Right.
And I'm currently studying with a young man I've been studying with for 2.5 years. And at first he was, he liked the information, but he really wasn't going to change. And to see the transformation, and I haven't physically seen him, I've only gone back and forth through the email system, but the changes that man has made in 2.5 years, I mean, it brings me to tears because he is not the same person I started studying with. And when he gets out of the facility, I can't wait to meet him in person because now he's my spiritual brother. And it's just so inspiring when you help somebody, but he had to do the heavy lifting. He had to do the changes, his personality and things like that. And it's really a good feeling.
Right. That's wonderful. Thank you. And thank you, Gabe, for sharing. This has been great. I've really enjoyed my time with you guys today. Thank you. Thank you for being here. I think we have about 5 minutes left, right?
Yeah. Does anybody else have a comment or question for Freya while we're here?
Yeah, hi, Roger. Ken Darby.
Go ahead.
Hi, Freya. Thank you. I appreciate your time. And Roger, I'm new to this forum. I just wanted to openly also, I don't know if my sister's listening, but she lives in Sarasota. I'm in Massachusetts. And she keeps me focused. And she found Neuro Challenge. And she found this support group. And she was talking to me about the expo, the last few weeks. And I just so appreciate her. She's my older sister, and she likes the warm weather down there, but I see her in the summertime. Her name is Deborah, and Deb, if you're listening, thank you so much. I so appreciate your love and your support. And you're the one that understands Parkinsonianism and Parkinson's needs, especially for me. And thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for sharing that. And you're certainly blessed to have that relationship with your sister in your life to assist you in that way.
What a sweet sharing that was. Kenny, where are you from in Massachusetts?
I live in Whitman. I just moved to Whitman to be close to my son.
Huh. I don't know where Whitman is. I was born in Worcester.
Worcester.
Well, I was born in New Jersey, so I'm not real familiar with Massachusetts. I've only been here 6 months, but
Oh, that's nice. That's nice to hear you share and to thank your sister. And if your sister isn't on, I want to make sure that you thank her via phone call or an email or some way today and let her know how important she is to you.
thanks, Ray.
That's nice.
Thank you, Kenny. And just a little shout out plug. Kenny mentioned Neuro Challenge Foundation. Everybody knows I'm on the board of directors there. They did have the expo. This Saturday will be the gala. It's the second biggest fundraiser event that they use. So I think I've mentioned you before. I mean, it's not cheap. Tickets aren't cheap. They're $350. You can write it off though. It's a tax deduction, and you will not be disappointed in the food that you'll get. But they'll also be auctioning off art items and different things like that. It's a really fun event. It's going to be at the Westin in downtown Sarasota this Saturday, starting at 6 o'clock. I see your hand, Sue.
How wonderful.
Whitman is halfway between Boston and Plymouth. So
Oh,
it's not
okay.
it's not too far from the shore, but it's
Oh, thank
halfway
you.
between the two. I'd never heard of it either. So
My family is in Falmouth on the Cape. Most of my family is down in Falmouth, so you're on the way down there. Yep.
Oh.
We'll be up there. We'll be up in Connecticut visiting sometime in April, I think.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice. Well, Freya, I want to thank you on behalf of the whole support group for joining us today and for sharing your your wisdom and pearls of wisdom and insight with our relationships. I think all of us have some homework to do. With those
Yes.
3 questions and those 3 people we want to reach out to this week and follow up on. So I really want to thank you for coming again. We really greatly appreciated it.
If you look in the chat, I posted a handout in there. For those of you who are clever, you can click on it, but it's just a little thing for you to take away and do. And it says, one way my relationship has changed recently is blank. I feel most loved when blank. One thing I wish I could say more often, blank. A person I want to connect with this week, blank. And one small act of love I can give or receive.
All right, so I saved that, and I will send out when I send out the follow-up email later this afternoon, I'll include it attached to that handout. Thank you, Freya, for giving us that.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you again for your attention, and thank you for the courage and the interest in being here and sharing with each other.
Thank you.